because I know there's a stereotype behind the police. So I was like, I don't know who you're with, and I don't want them to think anything about you. So I was like, let me not say nothing to you. But you came up to me, and I was like, oh snap, safe. And you know what? I actually appreciate that. It made me feel really like.
No one can say nothing to me.
Yeah, but I know that. But it doesn't mean you still have to embrace someone.
But you know what it is, because we've known each other. Like it's not like you're just a random. I've known you since kids. So from basketball days. Yeah, that's a very long time. That's a very, very long time. Probably like 20 years.
With your step now from becoming a police officer.
Yeah,
now you applied obviously. Then you obviously
I got both.
Okay.
So they wanted me to be an officer in the Marine or whatever. They were like, yeah, you're like the kind of person that we want as an officer. Come down. My mum obviously was the defining factor. She was like, I'm not letting you die. You're not going out there to die. No war. And I was just like,
so that kind of put the Marines to bed then. So now,
I was like, I'm gonna die anyway, mum. Like regardless, I'm gonna die. But
you didn't want to go young Afghanistan.
Yeah, well, I would have been in it. It would have been crazy. I would have been there. And so I just said, all right, cool. We'll see which comes back first. The Marines came back like a day before, and then the police came because I didn't think I was getting the police. I was like, they don't want black guys in the police. As soon as you tick that box of saying black, that's it. It's a wrap. I remember my sister helped me with the application, and then they came back and they were like, yeah, come down, do the test. Did all the tests. They weren't difficult. I'm not going to say easy. They weren't difficult. I scored in like the top 1%.
Are these mental tests or physical tests?
So in all of the tests, so you have physical tests, but they don't really judge them. They don't score you on that, but they just score you on all the.
A young bench press.
No, they did. When I started, it's called a push-pull machine. So you know, it's a machine that you push, and it judges how much energy, how much power you're pushing against it.
A lot of officers I see, like
they stopped it.
Who walk about look like they need
they
cardio.
They must have stopped it clearly.
Yeah, clearly.
They stopped it because, well, actually, you had to bench. I think it was like 30 kilograms, which is ridiculous. I know. 30
it's not even kg. Yeah. And some couldn't bench 30.
Because they want to say that it was unfair towards certain people because. For certain people, because it wasn't fair in terms of muscle mass and your genetics.
Oh, genetics, that sounds very interesting. Sounds like you're alluding to something here that some people have a better predisposition to
lift
being strong and lifting heavy weights than others.
Well, science would say that some people do have that.
Okay, what people would this be, sorry sir?
30 kilos. I lifted at year 8.
Which people would tend to have the...
Well, science will clearly state that males are stronger genetically than females.
So
but the test has to be fair.
Not to do with race based.
Well, you're going to have to ask the Met Police on that one. I can't tell you, so I have to do research. But it
couldn't have been race based because there's definitely no racism in the police force. 100%.
There's 100% racism.
Oh, there isn't. No.
Of course there is.
You wouldn't be there if there was. You wouldn't. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that to yourself. You wouldn't join the police force unless. Oh, that's it. Because you joined because you wanted to be the change. That's what it is. You wanted to be the change.
I'll tell you why you have to join and why I still tell everyone to join. It's because
that's what we like.
You got two options.
You went to change the police force.
You was
the martyr.
You got two options. Yeah, I'm not a martyr. I'm still alive.
I'm
still alive. Right here.
When he crossing, when the legs go like that, you know, serious time. You know. Okay.
Nah, to me, my life, like my motto is, if you're gonna complain about something, cool, but you have to do something about it at the same time. Yeah. You can't sit here and be like, the police are rubbish, they're not helping black people. Okay, cool, what are you doing to help black people? Please tell me before you say that. And most people go, well, you go protest. You go stand outside for a little bit so you can put it on Instagram. Cool, okay.
I agree with that.
All right, cool. But you'll never hear me complain about something that I'm not actively trying to change.
And would you say that was part of your motivation in joining the force, honestly?
No, that wasn't the motivation to start with, because at that time I was a younger person. This is why I am now. At that time it was, do something physical, do something that you enjoy, do something, do you know what I'm saying? I wasn't trying to change the police when I was going there. I wasn't going there saying, I'm gonna make a difference, I need to show representation. I was doing it because I was like, okay, this seems interesting.
What I find interesting though is that I'm gonna assume that your relationship with the police before you became a police officer is probably different to others. And one thing I don't like is when we behave like all our behaviours are homogenous, meaning that what you've gone through is the same that I've gone through. So for instance, my experience with the police up until now is probably pretty bad. Okay, but that's my own anecdotal experience, which means I can't push that on you. Because sometimes someone will look at you and be an officer and be like, oh, you're a black guy, why have you joined the police force? You might say that my experiences with the police have not been bad. So I don't understand what you're talking about. But I guess you don't need to have had bad experience with the police force to not be able to understand why there is a stigma between certain demographics joining the police force. So there's racism everywhere.
Of course.
Whether you're working in the corporate field, whether you're working as a PT, whether I've got a restaurant where, you know, I own a bit of land opposite the restaurant and I've rented it to a white lady. All the white customers go there, they don't come into my restaurant. Now, they haven't called me the N-word in front of me, they haven't said anything to me, but my restaurant's here and the land I own is literally 20 feet opposite, and it's full of white people. It's not even. It's literally it's opposite. My restaurant's full of people like myself, and the land that I rented to a white lady is full of white people. Now these are the same white people that have walked past my restaurant day in day out who haven't come into here.
And the area's
over there. So there's racism everywhere. But my thing to you now is that I'm going to make a wild assumption and say that you've seen racism whilst you've worked there in the past 6-7 years. I've pulled up some stats and figures, and some of these things that I've pulled up is when you're talking about stop and search, according to the gov.uk in 2019, they said that when it comes to stop and search, it was something like, let me just get my numbers
4
right.
times?
It was something like that. When you compare something like 6 times, black people are more likely to be stopped than their counterparts. When you look at the prison system, we make up 3% of the population of the UK, roughly, as black people. And in the prison system, we're up to 13-40% of the prison population. And people will say that, oh, those numbers are almost 4-5 times more than usual when you look at the other counterparts inside the prison system. And I always say that, you know, it's a numbers game, in my opinion. And this is where your field is probably better than mine. Because you asked Chizo earlier, there's always a reason why you're being stopped, which is obviously common sense. There's got to be a reason why you're being stopped. Whether that reason matches up to why they've stopped you, it is a different thing.
It's a different thing.
So for instance, the initiative might be county lines. Okay, and then the dumb thing, like when I used to get stopped regularly when I was younger, first thing they'll stop and say, oh, there's been a lot of drug dealing in the area. And they'll stop me and they'll be like, but do I look like a drug dealer? And they'll say, what does a drug dealer look like? So you're now going, you're doing circular reason, you're now going round and round in circles.
Like you see, like even going back to what you were saying about if there's a reason that it'll probably stop you. What if, let's say, in this area they're running county lines and they were saying, there's a look. What if all the real county line runners all were suited and booted?
Yeah, I've arrested people in suits that have been doing.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What if they were proper suited and booted, like looking like they were just doing office jobs? How would they be able to separate what is what?
You make a good point. It's the truth.
Yeah.
So when you mentioned earlier trying to change things, okay, obviously when you first joined, that wasn't your intention. I'm assuming. I'm assuming your intention to join the police was you wanted a job primarily. You was active.
I need a job.
Hence the Marines and police, because you weren't even thinking of being a policeman at first, was you? It was more the Marines, something physical.
Yeah.
Then the police presented itself, and you got the job, and you was like, you know what? Let me go ahead. Probably one or two of your parents or your family was like, boy, Dom, don't know about that one.
No, my mum was like, she always says be careful, and that's across the board. She always says be careful. You need to understand this is how the work environment is, because my mum's done a lot of stuff, and do you get what I'm saying? So she always looks. She's my mum, so she's gonna look after you. She's gonna be like, look, the world's tough. This is how it is in England. Regardless of what anyone tells you, there are gonna be people that don't like you because of the colour of your skin, and the Metropolitan Police is built up by something silly like 80% of them are white, or 86%. Are white.
It was 84% on that.
So yeah. So not all of them are going to necessarily like you. Some more like you, some may dislike you solely based on the colour of your skin. Some. But you need to understand that and you need to be able to navigate that. Do you know what I'm saying? She's always told me that growing up. But what's unique about my family is solicitors, police officers. I've got police officers in the States. That my cousins are police officers. Do you know what I'm saying? So, and they're lawyers as well, solicitors. So it's a weird family dynamic where we are all involved in that system in one way or another. But there wasn't, like, my cousins who are like, I wouldn't say they're mad or not, I ain't gonna bait up stuff, but they were just like, alright, cool. Do you get what I'm saying? And they wouldn't necessarily be pro Metropolitan Police, but they're pro me. Do you feel me?
Okay, reiterate that again. They're not necessarily pro-Metropolitan
They're not pro-Metropolitan Police by any
you.
shape or form, but they're pro-me. They know who I am, and they understand me as a person. So they understand, well, he's not going to be going out doing all this madness. So they're like, I'll support you. I ain't supporting that organisation. Do you feel me?
But technically, if you know this is going on, and the things you...
Talking about racism, right?
Because what is... I don't like using the race card, because not everyone in the police is racist.
Why not?
I'll tell you why.
Okay, well, yeah, we know that.
Yeah,
but
because often people will say, oh, the police, you know, I don't like the police because they're racist. And I'll say, as an institution, okay, maybe the things that go on back end with the profiling, I can only use, I don't talk for everyone, I can only use my experience. And I can say, as an experience as a young black man growing up in South London, having a license, having insurance, because often I say, if you get stopped for not having insurance, don't call racism. Even if they pulled you because you was black, you've got no insurance, bro. Like, let's just take that and say, that's it.
Hold out.
But if you come behind me, you see I've got insurance, and everything else matches. Okay. There's times when I've been driving and, like, say I'm on this side of the road, and the police on this side of the road. And obviously they've got NPR cameras, there's different sort of cameras that people can use to do things. But let's just say I'm stationed here, you're stationed beside me, and let's say they've looked over. And obviously I've been told that I look suspicious when they looked at me. Now, suspicion is very ambiguous.
Subjective.
It's subjective. So I've been pulled over probably about, in my lifetime, I'd say close to 30, 40 times.
I've lost count.
I'd say, and I'm not joking.
I've proper lost count.
And
I believe you.
Even to the point now, as an old black man now, I still, sometimes I'll be driving, I have a baseball cap on.
Yeah.
I almost find myself taking my cap off. I'm like, what the F are you doing? Put your cap back on.
Yeah, you know what?
Even if I'm driving for hood.
I don't drive with my hood on.
Sometimes the federal people, I'll see police cars coming.
I don't do that at all.
And I'm not lying.
Just because of that.
Sometimes I take my hood off. As a big old, late 30-year-old brother who's fully legit, I almost find myself taking my hood off. So one time, I remember my mama said to me, Gabriel. It's because sometimes you're walking on the road, you wear your hood. Take off the uniform that the thugs are wearing. I said, Mum, what you're doing right, Mum, is victim blaming. Because you're profiling me saying that because I'm wearing a certain attire, it allows this to happen to me. Because when we look on the flip side, when we talk about a certain sex who wear a certain uniform and say something happened to them, we'd call that victim blaming.